In this world where card abilities determine everything, the seemingly weakest card, the two of spades with the lowest value, is actually the most coveted item among collectors. Finn's family was massacred for guarding this card. And today, Finn encounters the enemy who killed his family 10 years ago. Just a few days ago, Finn's squad was tasked with retrieving another card held by the owner of the Jack of Hearts, who possesses the ability of high-speed flight. To minimize unnecessary casualties, the entire squad was deployed for this mission, opting for a thrilling high-altitude skydive to recapture the card at the lowest possible cost. The reason for retrieving such cards is that X-playing cards grant users extraordinary powers. To maintain societal balance, the government formed an organization called High Card to secretly collect these scattered cards worldwide. However, the Klondike family, also collecting cards, not only assassinated a prince in a terrorist attack, but is also brewing a more terrifying plan. Meanwhile, the police have launched an operation, but seem to be a step behind again, as the leader of the Klondike family has escaped once more. This prompts Police Chief Greg to suspect a leak in their search operation. Just then, numerous bombs suddenly appear on the wall. Elsewhere, Finn returned to the orphanage, which was being rebuilt. The director finally revealed Finn's true identity. It turned out that there was once a sensational news story about a murder in a villa where no bodies were found when firefighters arrived. However, a little boy was discovered nearby who, due to extreme shock, seemed to have lost all memory related to the incident. Until he was brought to the orphanage, he had been tightly clutching the two of spades card. That boy was Finn. On his way back, Finn pondered the samurai from his memories. He was now sure that this individual was not only a card holder, but also wielded an unknown power. At that moment, Chris suddenly called. A monster had appeared in the park, likely another card holder, and Chris asked for Finn's help. Suddenly the monster appeared and smashed the roof. It turned out to be a human transformed into a gorilla. Due to the creature's agility, Chris could only shoot while maintaining distance. It turned out that this person was the holder of the Six of Hearts. Realizing that they were all Hearts card holders, Chris decided not to waste more time. However, just then, the opponent transformed into a flying bat, and Chris quickly lost sight of him, as he was unsure what to do next. Fortunately, Chris reacted swiftly and kicked at the moment of the sneak attack. Although his ankle was scratched by claws, Chris managed to knock the opponent down. Just as he was about to continue the pursuit, he experienced severe heart pain and realized that the attack was poisoned. The enemy had set a trap to catch Chris off guard. Thankfully, Finn arrived just in time to save Chris. But as Finn tracked the enemy, he saw the nightmare-like Black Knight appear and kill the card holder, before consuming the Six of Hearts card. At that moment, the scenes from the past seemed to replay before Finn's eyes. The terror brought by the Black Knight made Finn retreat repeatedly. As he wondered what to do, Chris, having recovered from his injuries, arrived at the scene. However, the Black Knight seemed unwilling to spare them. Just as the Black Knight was executing a thorough extermination, a man spoke up to stop him. Finn, having narrowly escaped danger, received another mission to retrieve a card. The target card, the Queen of Hearts, grants the ability of supersonic movement, making its retrieval challenging. The holder, Danny, has significant public influence due to his use of the card's power for punishing evil and promoting good, becoming an internet celebrity. Danny's hometown, Magic Rose City, is considered sacred because the legendary magician Klein used 52 cards to repel invaders, earning him many followers there. While wandering the city, Finn and his companion stumbled upon a thug harassing a girl and immediately intervened to rescue her. However, the thug ignored them and continued dragging the girl away. Suddenly, a blur flashed by, and the thug turned into a mummy, the work of the Queen of Hearts holder, Danny. Danny's appearance quickly attracted a crowd of fans, preventing Finn and Chris from approaching him. By the time they managed to push through the crowd, Danny had already left to patrol. The vastness of Magic City made it difficult to find Danny again without any clues. At that moment, Chris began coughing again, attracting Danny's attention because he thought Chris needed help. Underestimated, Chris took out his card, but Danny mistook this for a desire to become a superhero. He bluntly told Chris that becoming a hero isn't easy and offered to let Chris be his sidekick if he could touch the hem of his garment. Seeing that Danny was impervious to persuasion, Chris was about to use his gun, but it was instantly taken away. At that moment, the cathedral's alarm bell rang. Danny announced he had to go help others. Meanwhile, Finn, who was looking for someone, got lost and asked a passing believer for directions. The person turned around with a mysterious smile. Before leaving, the mysterious man revealed to Finn that it was not the king, but 52 knights who originally used the cards to save the kingdom. The magician Klein, considering the characteristics of the 52 knights, created 52 cards with special powers. The knights offered their blood to the cards and gained mysterious powers to defeat the invaders. After disclosing the truth about the cards, he disappeared into the street. Finn rushed out but saw no one. Instead, he ran into Leo and others who had arrived. On the other side, Chris and Danny were rescuing trapped individuals. Danny quickly saved everyone using his card's powers. Just then, an accident occurred. The floor beneath Chris collapsed. Outside the church, the group noticed that Chris's signal had disappeared. By the time Finn arrived, Chris had just emerged from the rubble, severely injured. They found that Chris's card power was still active, but his wounds were not healing. As Chris's condition worsened, the card automatically deactivated its power. With Chris's life in danger without his card's power, Finn had to ask for Danny's help. Despite this, they decided to proceed with the retrieval of the card Danny held. With a mere swipe of his claws, the man could destroy the surrounding buildings. Even more astonishingly, he remained calm and took the elevator even as explosions and collapses occurred around him. Finn wanted to pursue but found the elevator was already out of service. It turned out the man possessed a card that could control sound. Anyone who heard the sound of his claws would fall into an illusion, an ability comparable to a sonic version of the Sharingan. That day, Chris called Finn to the hospital. He repeatedly apologized to Finn and handed over his 5 of Hearts card, knowing he could no longer be Finn's partner. Chris had used his card's power to share his sister's illness, which caused all his previous injuries to remain. Moreover, Chris had contracted the same disease as his sister. Given that Chris had violated regulations by using his card power for personal matters, he could no longer perform his card retrieval duties. Consequently, headquarters, led by Theodore, decided to dismiss Chris as a warning to other employees to refrain from using cards for personal reasons. Leo, feeling helpless about the situation, could only respect the decision made by headquarters. However, as Chris's good friend, Finn was unwilling to lose him. As he rushed to headquarters to plead with Theodore, a man in purple clothing approached the front desk. He introduced himself as Zenon, and then swiped his claws on the desk, causing explosions all around. The lobby was thrown into chaos as Zenon calmly walked towards the elevator. Finn immediately used his card power and chased after Zenon, but was a step too slow. When Finn tried to press another elevator button, it didn't respond, so he had to chase Zenon up the stairs. Finn's teammates, upon receiving news of the attack on headquarters, also quickly set out to help. The 3 people on the top floor, after hearing of the attack, started to ensure Theodore's safe evacuation. However, they encountered Zenon around a corner, and the floor began to collapse. After the collapse, Theodore approached his secretary to check if he was unharmed, and explained Zenon's ability to create illusions with sound. He then helped the secretary up, asking him to temporarily hand over his card for safekeeping, stating it was the safest course of action given the urgent situation. The secretary complied with Theodore's arrangement and activated the 8 of Diamonds ability, which can connect any door to any other door across the country. This ability made it impossible for anyone to steal the card from the kingdom. After the secretary led Theodore to the room where the cards were stored, Theodore suddenly transformed into Zenon. By the time Finn reached the top floor, he saw the level exploding with fire. He found Leo lying motionless on the ground, but from Leo's perspective, he was pinned under rocks. Neither understood the other's situation until VJ arrived and instantly recognized the opponent's ability. VJ threw 2 seeds, summoning plants that freed Finn and Leo from the illusion. Just as VJ was about to inform Wendy of the enemy's ability, Wendy had already arrived at the scene. Zenon then activated his power, disrupting Wendy's communication. Wendy decisively chose to pursue Zenon. Using his ability, Zenon made Wendy see visions of her teammates all dead. Enraged, Wendy drew her sword and activated the Ace of Spades power. As Zenon thought he could control Wendy with this, she charged at him instead. Zenon activated his power again, but Wendy, undeterred, continued her attack. making Xenon realize he had provoked a formidable foe. Despite his powers, Xenon couldn't escape Wendy's wrath and fled to the rooftop, only to find Finn and his team already waiting there. Wendy, arriving shortly after, was unusually excited to see her teammates. Just as Xenon thought he could escape by helicopter, Wendy slashed at it, causing it to lose control and crash. The explosion's aftermath blew Xenon away, forcing him to use his claws to buffer his fall. While Finn and his team wanted to continue pursuing Xenon, Wendy relentlessly attacked, intent on turning them into sashimi. At this critical moment, the butler Bernard unexpectedly arrived on the rooftop. He is the holder of the 9 of spades and summoned a black shield with his card, easily blocking Wendy's attacks. With a single strike, Bernard subdued Wendy. The powerful Wendy couldn't withstand even one of Bernard's moves, revealing his hidden strength. The Joker card's ability of the X playing cards has finally been revealed. It can sever the connection between the card and its player, and even directly seal a card, rendering it inactive. Theodore, too, turned out to be a card holder, with the ability to see through everything, even detecting invisible enemies with his piercing eyes. More than a month has passed since the headquarters was attacked, but the footage of the incident continues to circulate widely. Although the official explanation cited the helicopter crash, it has not quelled public speculation. Thus, the task of collecting cards has been indefinitely suspended. Since then, Theodore has disappeared, and the other members have gone their separate ways. After his escape, Xenon has prepared everything and is now ready to conclude his plans. Meanwhile, Finn has come alone to the stronghold, where only Bernard remains. The other members are on standby at their homes. At that moment, Norman and his subordinates arrived. It turns out that he and Theodore had known each other since childhood, and Norman had unilaterally considered Theodore a rival, though Theodore always ignored him. Their relationship changed with the arrival of Ban, the current leader of the Klondike family. During a card retrieval mission, Theodore attended a party hosted by Ban's father. Although they were in the same major at university, Theodore wouldn't have known Ban if he hadn't initiated a conversation, as Theodore tends to ignore things he finds uninteresting. Just as they started talking, gunshots suddenly rang out, and Theodore immediately rushed to the scene. The robbers were sent by a rival to create trouble. Theodore was there not only to retrieve cards, but also to stop them. The young Greg also arrived, but they couldn't see the robbers. The robbers' card, the 7 of Hearts, allowed them to turn invisible by refracting light. Unfortunately for them, they encountered Theodore, who could see everything. Together with young Greg, they exposed the robber, who then took hostages to save himself. That's when Ban entered. However, Theodore also wanted to retrieve Ban's King of Diamonds, but Ban was not willing to hand over his belongings. As tensions rose between them, young Bernard suggested that Ban join them in retrieving cards, allowing him unrestricted use of his card. From that day, Theodore and Ban teamed up for card retrieval, while Greg secretly gathered intelligence on them, soon to be discovered. However, they reached an agreement. Greg would provide Theodore with information about card holders, and they would not interfere with Greg's investigations. Afterwards, they often gathered at the stronghold. Norman secretly lingered outside the door. According to Bernard, Theodore and Ban had different personalities and ideas, but became good friends, making that time unforgettable. However, their relationship eventually fell apart. What exactly happened between Theodore and Ban remains unknown even to Bernard. Greg avoids topics related to cards because he was forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement one day. Feeling unable to confront them, Greg stays out of card-related matters. However, after the recent explosion attack, he feels it's time to pass his secrets to the younger generation, and the truth-seeking policewoman, Sugar, is his best choice. On the other side, Theodore has been kidnapped due to Xenon's attack. It turns out that Ban already knew about the Joker card's ability and that the king plans to completely seal the cards during the coronation ceremony. Ban's plan is to destroy the Joker card, ushering in a world where cards can be used freely. Ban mentions that he once helped Chris, not for any reason other than admiring Chris's courage to use the cards regardless of the consequences. However, he criticizes the foolish rules that stopped Chris, just as they had once stopped him. This card is lethal in an invisible way. It works like poison. Simply chat with the target every day, and by the 13th day, its ability automatically triggers, causing the target to die unknowingly. This time, the man's target is Leo. Due to the impact of the headquarters explosion, all activities related to the cards have been suspended. Even Leo's father is missing, leaving Leo idle every day. Although people around him show concern, he believes their kindness is feigned, valued only for his status as a family heir. However, one person is an exception. Francis approached Leo not for his status, but because he felt that Leo was as lonely as he was. While teaching Leo photography and trying to cheer him up, Leo did not become happier. Instead, his health deteriorated. No issues were found during a medical check, and the doctor advised Leo to rest more. However, Leo's condition never improved, and he eventually fainted outdoors. This time, the doctor issued a critical illness notice, advising Leo to inform his parents, but he didn't even know where his father was. Before leaving, a classmate warned Leo to be cautious of Francis, who had been inquiring about Leo's affairs, suggesting he might be responsible. That night, when Francis approached, Leo confronted him fiercely, pushing him to the ground before leaving. Leo went to a bench outside the school, and as he lay dying, the doctor approached, confirming Leo was on the brink of death. The doctor then revealed the truth. He was the card holder sent by the Klondike family, with the ability to weaken the target's physical and mental health through daily conversations, leading to death on the 13th day. Fortunately, in the nick of time, VJ arrived and used his ability to severely injure the doctor, deactivating the doctor's card and saving Leo. This is not just an ordinary playing card. Whenever its ability is activated and it turns into gloves, its holder gains special superpowers. The woman's card, the Ace of Spades, is even more extraordinary. Although it can transform into a magical demon blade, it must never be drawn from its sheath. The demon blade causes the user's temperament to change drastically. The woman's name is Wendy. Since the High Card organization was forced to shut down, she has been languishing at home, unable to control the power of her card, feeling guilty, as if she could have utilized the Ace of Spades better to prevent the organization from nearing dissolution. At this moment, Chelsea suddenly shows up asking for Wendy's help to get a girl out of town using the organization's credentials. Although Wendy does not explicitly refuse, she realizes that the girl is also a card holder. It turns out that Chelsea encountered this girl the previous night as she was closing up, and due to her special status, she now seeks Wendy's assistance. Hearing this, Wendy agrees, but only hands over her car keys, not planning to accompany them. Seeing Wendy's dejected demeanor, Chelsea understands she is still blaming herself. So, she forcibly pulls Wendy into the car for an impromptu road trip. However, they barely reach the intersection when they encounter police officers on duty, who notice the girl in the back seat. Just as the police are about to arrest them, Chelsea steps forward and uses her ability to stick the officers together, allowing Wendy to drive away. Though the immediate crisis is averted, while looking for a place to eat, they notice the girl seems to be hiding something. Before Wendy can ask for clarification, they hear the sound of glass breaking. The girl had accidentally shattered a glass, causing a drunk man to lose his temper at her. Chelsea immediately steps in front of the girl and, to correct the man's behavior, lets Wendy handle him. Meanwhile, members of the Klondike family infiltrated the palace, targeting a deep door within it. They plan to use the power of their cards to destroy the site, but police ambushed them in time, having been tipped off by Greg, who had guessed their plan and hidden there from the start. However, when Greg lifted the man's hat, to his surprise, the man transformed into a woman. Elsewhere, in a hotel, a girl was too frightened by nightmares to sleep, and Wendy had noticed her every move. To understand what the girl was hiding, Wendy followed her outside and showed her own card. Confronted with the Ace of Spades, the girl's curiosity was piqued. Wendy then revealed everything about the card and how it had chosen her. Hearing this, the girl disclosed her own secret. She was fleeing because her card had killed her father. He used to hit her without reason, and she had subconsciously harbored hostility towards him. By the time she realized what had happened, her father was already dead. She also occasionally heard the evil whispers of her card, making her afraid to get close to anyone, as her touch could take a life if she harbored any malice. The next day, they arrived at a gas station in the evening. While chatting, Wendy suddenly sensed a murderous intent, but there was no one else around. It turned out that the enemy was hiding in the shadows. Gao Wang, holder of the 8 of clubs from the Klondike family, was there to reclaim Wendy's card. Wendy tried to use her card's power but couldn't hit her hidden opponent. As Gao Wang lurked in the shadows, Wendy was at a loss. Gao Wang then decided to target the girl holding a card, but this was all part of her plan to expose Wendy's weaknesses. Just as Gao Wang was about to kill Wendy, Chelsea used the light to destroy the shadows. However, Gao Wang created new shadows, knocking Chelsea unconscious against the wall. Wendy stepped forward to help but inadvertently stepped into a shadow, which began to engulf her like a swamp. Watching this, the girl gathered her courage and rushed over, and her card deactivated its power. At that moment, Gao Wang kicked the girl away, and then forced Wendy further into the shadow. Wendy felt as if she was sinking into the sea, powerless to resist. Then, Wendy saw the woman she despised the most. Determined to save the girl who shared her fate, Wendy decided to use her power again. This time, Gao Wang was no match for Wendy, who easily defeated her using the light from the flames. This time, because of the girl, Wendy chose not to kill. Just when they thought it was all over, the police arrived. Due to Wendy's special status, she instructed Chelsea to take the girl and leave, while she stayed behind to buy them time. But Wendy never expected that the person coming to arrest her would be Sugar. The police arrested members of High Card, along with Burst, who attempted an assault on the palace, and detained them at a secret military base. Meanwhile, Greg took the cards confiscated from Burst to negotiate directly with the king. It turned out that Burst used the Ace of Hearts ability to transform into Tilt and deceived Xenon to acquire all the cards, because she didn't want her loved ones to risk their lives. Thus, as Tilt, she activated the King of Spades to fulfill the Klondike family's plan. Upon learning this, Xenon immediately decided to retrieve the cards from the police. On the other side, Greg approached the king under the pretense of returning the cards, but the box was empty. He used this as leverage to demand that the royal family disclose what the Klondike family was searching for. The prince initially wanted to force the guards to apprehend Greg, but Greg had prepared for this by recording the entire meeting. If he were captured, the activities of High Card would become public. Seeing that Greg had the cards as leverage, the king was compelled to have a private conversation with him. Greg revealed that there were Klondike family spies within the royal court, and urged the king to eliminate them before the prince's coronation. He also hoped the king would inform the police, allowing them to resolve all conflicts involving the Klondike family. Meanwhile, Sugar was interrogating Burst, trying to uncover the Klondike family's objectives. Over the past year, Sugar had discovered that Burst used her transformation ability to become the holder of the Eight of Spades, and had launched multiple attacks on the police using its explosive power. Just as she confidently stated that the police were close to uncovering everything, an undercover agent had already informed the Klondike family about the secret base. Faced with the threat of gunfire from the guards, Zenon activated his card, causing the guards to fall into an illusion and start attacking each other. Zenon merely needed to make a noise for the guards to feel as though they were being swept up in explosions. Hearing the commotion outside, Burst kicked Sugar down and knocked her out with a punch, stealing her card. Hearing the noise, High Card member Bernard knew the time had come. He pulled a small bomb from his shoe sole, intending to blow up the iron gate trapping them. At the same moment, Burst ran into Tilt while escaping. Tilt tried to persuade Burst to hand over the card, but Burst continued to flee, wanting to sacrifice herself to complete the Klondike family's plan. However, just as she reached the next intersection, she encountered the fleeing High Card members. Tilt arrived at the scene soon after, and both parties immediately became cautious. Just then, the Black Knight's consciousness began to erode Tilt. Burst tried to stop him from being consumed by the Black Knight's influence. However, the Black Knight forcefully triggered Tilt's transformation ability with the King of Spades and persistently demanded the other cards from Burst. Seeing her beloved in such pain, Burst couldn't bear it. She took out 5 cards, planning to activate X-Hand to restore Tilt's consciousness. This involved sacrificing her own physical and mental health to forcefully activate the 5 cards for a temporary powerful effect, but Burst could hardly sustain such immense power. The Black Knight slowly approached Burst, intending to kill her, but Finn ran over and pushed Burst aside, dodging the Black Knight's deadly strike. Just then, a car crashed into the scene, hitting the Black Knight. The driver was Chris, who should have been in the hospital, but had decided to return to his place in High Card, following Finn's advice. As the Black Knight regained his mobility, Finn quickly used his card to activate its power and asked why the Black Knight wanted to kill his family. However, the Black Knight charged at Finn. Chris then pulled Finn away to avoid the attack. Seeing this, the Black Knight went berserk and sent a blast of sword energy that knocked the high card members away. Chris took the card from Finn, and the Black Knight immediately targeted him. Despite dodging the Black Knight's attacks, the injuries Chris sustained did not heal. The group realized that Chris's card wasn't fully functional yet, and without their own cards, they couldn't assist Chris. Nevertheless, Chris didn't give up and pulled out a knife to fight back, but was quickly grabbed by the throat by the Black Knight. At this critical moment, time suddenly stopped, and the mysterious person who had spoken with Finn before reappeared. Finn never imagined that his Spades 2 was the weakest card, while the strongest was the Black Knight of the King of Spades, capable of absorbing other cards to gain immense power. Just as Chris was in mortal danger, a mysterious person stopped time. It turned out he was Klein, the magician who created the cards. To end the endless struggle for the cards, he took Finn into the memories of the cards' origins. Klein chose a kind young man and materialized his power into 52 cards. Once the knights witnessed the power of these cards, they chose to join him. The Black Knight, originally the King of Spades, was the first holder. After successfully assembling 52 knights, they used their power to repel invaders. The young man then became the first king of this world. However, the Black Knight gradually harbored different ideas, believing that the kingdom should be ruled by these powerful knights. With the support of many knights, he initiated a coup and killed Klein. Klein's body was merely a vessel. His spirit was omnipresent. As the Black Knight was about to execute the king, a young knight chose to intervene. His fearless act of protecting the nation awakened the other deluded knights. Together, they subdued the Black Knight. The king pardoned the knight's crimes, except for the Black Knight. Even facing death, he was unrepentant. After his death, his soul completely took over the King of Spades. Therefore, the king permanently sealed this card away. As time passed, these special cards were passed down through generations. Eventually, Klein approached the king. Originally, it was the king's wish that allowed him to manifest. Now that his mission was completed, Klein hoped the king would personally end him. With Klein's disappearance, the cards would also vanish. However, the king did not want to lose the power of the cards. He decided that the royal family would manage them, using the cards where needed. Thus, the king transformed himself into the 53rd card, the Joker, housing his soul within it, to sever the connection between the cards and the players. Subsequently, the royal family established an organization to recover the cards, but the Black Knight's resentment did not subside over time. He eventually possessed the body of the then Prime Minister, causing the cards to scatter across the world and reappear among card holders. This time, the Black Knight evolved, gaining power by killing other players and absorbing their cards. The Black Knight then attempted to destroy the Joker card, but the conflict between them generated immense energy. The Prime Minister failed because he could not withstand the burden of the card. However, modern humans, with their stronger wills and robust bodies, have the capability to destroy the Joker card. Without the seal of the Joker card, more misfortune could be unleashed. Originally, the cards were created to bring happiness to all, but no one truly understood their purpose. Therefore, Klein asked Finn to kill him, so that the world would no longer suffer due to the cards. He chose Finn, the weakest and the holder of the 2 of Spades, because he resembled the knight who first held that card. However, Finn did not comply with his wish, as the power of the cards had brought happiness to many, including the friendships Finn had formed because of them. Finn believed the misfortunes caused by the cards should not be Klein's burden to bear. Their organization, High Card, would save everyone. After Klein disappeared, Finn returned to reality and saved Chris in a critical moment. The Black Knight saw another figure in Finn. With Klein's help, Finn successfully rescued Chris, but during their escape, they encountered Zenon. Both already severely injured, they were quickly subdued by Zenon. Just then, the Black Knight pursued them, but Zenon did not expect to become a target himself. Tilt then suppressed the Black Knight's consciousness, but suddenly, the long-absent secretary, Owen, appeared. He used his power to trap Zenon in a labyrinth and then threw the weakened Tilt inside. While everyone was still shocked, Owen suddenly targeted Burst, acting as if he had lost his reason. As Owen was about to throw Burst into the labyrinth, Finn stopped him. Owen couldn't understand why. Did his actions to eliminate threats to the people become wrong? If it weren't for their desire to possess the cards, Theodore wouldn't have died. During their standoff, Leo and others finally arrived, but Owen was beyond reasoning, only seeking revenge for Theodore's death. As Owen threw Burst into the labyrinth, Chris jumped in after her, holding her in his arms. Vijay then used vines to pull them back up, and Wendy seized the moment to temporarily incapacitate the irrational Owen. With the scene shifting, everyone safely returned to their base. Leo planned to use Tilt as leverage to exchange for information about the Klondike family with Burst, which made Owen lose his sanity. He couldn't believe Leo would consider forgiving these scoundrels who had killed his father. However, Leo believed that the role of High Card was not just to recover cards, but also to eliminate the chaos they caused and save everyone who suffered because of the cards. Deep in the labyrinth, Zenon and Tilt woke up. Tilt was near breaking point. He didn't want to die there or fail at such a crucial time, especially after sacrificing so much to satisfy the desires of the King of Spades. However, Zenon suddenly laughed, revealing that he knew he couldn't escape alive, so he decided to give Tilt a special gift. As lost memories were awakened, Tilt remembered everything he had forgotten. It turned out Zenon's ability was not only to create illusions, but also to distort anyone's memories. Learning the truth, Tilt was shocked to realize he had been manipulated for so many years. At that moment, the consciousness of the Black Knight took over Tilt again. After killing Zenon, he broke out of Owen's labyrinth. Witnessing what unfolded, Burst finally spoke up. She not only explained everything to everyone, but also revealed the secret of the Joker card. While everyone thought she was lying, Finn shared his experiences with Klein. Although the group was reluctant to believe such an absurd story, Leo had a different attitude. He chose to believe Finn and deduced from the historical events Finn described that it might all be true. Meanwhile, Burst disclosed another piece of information. Leo's father was not actually dead. She was willing to betray her family if everyone helped rescue Tilt. Owen, however, did not believe Burst's words, as he had searched the entire country through the labyrinth and found no trace of Theodore. Nevertheless, Leo trusted Burst, believing his father would not die so easily, and asked Owen for help. At this point, Owen gave up resisting. Everyone then prepared for the most critical mission ever that night. Meanwhile, Tilt, who had escaped from the labyrinth, called Ban. But on the other side, Greg encountered a strange person. On the other side, the group successfully found the ruins where Ban was hiding. Although Leo planned to cautiously follow a path as a precaution, they did not realize that Ban had already detected their every move. The informant providing Ban with information was none other than the king's son, who, in his ambition to become the heir to the throne, had repeatedly leaked High Card's information to Ban. Meanwhile, Leo and two others had already sneaked into the ruins, only to find nothing but a broken chair. Owen noticed the chair was still warm, but before they could react, a black vortex suddenly appeared outside, burying them in the ruins. When Leo opened his eyes again, he was bound hand and foot, and his father Theodore was also in front of him. Before Leo could feel relieved, he received a reprimand from his father, who criticized the reckless action that could lead to more unnecessary casualties. At that moment, Ban unexpectedly approached from behind. It turned out that his reason for kidnapping Leo's father was to make them experience the pain of losing loved ones. 25 years ago, Ban's father hosted a noble party at this location, but it was suddenly invaded by armed militants. By the time Ban arrived, it was too late, and his father perished in a fire. Unable to accept the sudden bad news, Ban planned to use the forbidden card power, X-Hand, to reverse time and undo the events. However, Theodore not only failed to understand his determination, but even stopped him at the most critical moment. Since that day, Ban, who lost his left eye because of the cards, became known as a failure, so he meticulously planned his revenge for years. Just then, Tilt appeared in front of them, but he was looking at Finn, who was unconscious. Ban, seeing Tilt with his memories restored, was not surprised. Instead, he began to detail how he had altered Tilt's memories. Watching Ban's arrogant demeanor, Tilt charged at him, but Ban simply tapped him lightly, disabling his movement. Although Leo seized the opportunity to charge at Ban, it had no effect. Ban then grabbed Leo and brutally beat him in front of Theodore. Despite being severely injured, Leo kept shouting for his father to escape. Seeing that continuing this way was pointless, Ban prepared to use his card power to kill Leo. At this moment, Theodore was completely out of strength to resist. Even though he was now blind, Ban still did not intend to let them go. However, because he let his guard down, Theodore seized the opportunity to turn the tables. At that moment, Theodore had completely transformed. Even when facing bullets fired by Ban, he could dodge them instantly using the power of the cards. Ban was frustrated, unable to understand why Theodore had stopped him years ago. Was there anything more important than his own family? Just as Theodore was about to reveal the truth, Tilt stabbed him through the body. Now Tilt only wanted to kill Ban. As he was about to strike with his sword, Theodore stood up again. He not only stopped Tilt's rampage, but also saved Ban's life. Ban finally understood Theodore. He had always wanted to protect him. Seeing his close friend collapsed on the ground, Ban was determined not to let tragedy strike again. He picked up the card from the ground and activated it to reverse time without hesitation. Time returned to several hours earlier. Although they no longer remembered what had just happened, Theodore suddenly realized something. It must have been Ban who had saved his life. Seeing the smile on his friend's face as he died made Theodore understand the meaning of family. Just then, Tilt suddenly arrived. Seeing Ban, who was already dead, he kicked his face and then turned his gaze towards the unconscious Finn. Finn suddenly woke up from a nightmare. When he came to his senses, he realized that Tilt had brought him home. Seeing Finn's confused expression, Tilt decided not to hide the truth anymore. He not only confessed that he was Finn's brother, but also recounted the entire story of the fire incident. On Finn's 7th birthday, Tilt had prepared a special gift for him. Since their parents disapproved of Tilt's idle lifestyle, he had to secretly call Finn upstairs. When Tilt pulled out the 2 of spades, Finn immediately recognized it as the legendary card. At the same time, Tilt also revealed his own King of Spades. Just as they were celebrating their possession of the cards, their father took Finn away. At that moment, 2 uninvited guests arrived at the door. To be cautious, Tilt hid Finn in a closet. However, when he went to the living room, he found his parents had been killed. It turned out that the rampage of the King of Spades had allowed Finn to witness his parents' gruesome deaths and the Black Knight, who frequently appeared in his nightmares over the past 10 years. The Black Knight did not kill Finn because his last bit of reason overcame his desire. But Finn could hardly believe all this. The once gentle brother had turned into a demon. Finn instinctively ran away, but the place was like a labyrinth, impossible to escape. However, when he reached a room at the deepest part, he was utterly shocked to see the walls covered with his photos. Just then, Chris and 2 others arrived at the scene. Something seemed off to Chris, but before he could speak, Tilt had already activated his card power and pinned Chris to the wall with a sword. Tilt wanted Finn to return to his side, but Finn was more concerned about Chris's safety. Tilt then decided to kill everyone except Finn. Burst wanted to use the X-Hand to save Tilt, but the Black Knight declared that the body now belonged to him. Since the Black Knight prioritized the Joker card as his main target, he temporarily spared them and left. At that moment, Chris's life was ticking away. His wounds were not healing, and even the card's power was deactivated. Finn could only watch helplessly as his best friend died in front of him. However, Burst stepped forward. She was willing to trade her own life to bring Chris back, as long as Finn could pull Tilt out of the abyss. She was content to die if it meant saving Chris. When Chris opened his eyes again, his body had been restored to its original state. However, Burst had lost her life due to the cost of using the card. Seeing what had happened, Chris immediately understood everything that had transpired. On the other side, the Black Knight finally invaded the kingdom. Although the army was stationed on his essential path, their weapons couldn't stop him, let alone break his armor. Fortunately, Wendy arrived in time. As the highest combat power of the High card, she could fight the Black Knight evenly without using the power of her enchanted sword. However, the Black Knight soon found a flaw in her defense, and didn't want to waste more time, as his real goal was the Joker card hidden deep in the palace. Just as he was about to kill Wendy, someone suddenly shot his weapon away. It was Finn. Then Chris drove a car into the Black Knight. but it didn't harm him. Seeing no other way, Wendy had to rely on her enchanted sword. Meanwhile, Finn and Chris were driving towards the palace, discussing their plan. Since the Black Knight's consciousness had not fully taken over Tilt, Finn was reluctant to kill his brother unless absolutely necessary. On the other side, Wendy was gradually losing ground. No matter how she attacked, she couldn't injure the Black Knight, who wasn't seriously fighting her because his target had always been the Joker card in the palace. Elsewhere, the king had already unsealed the Joker card, unaware that the Black Knight had reached the depths of the palace. Fortunately, Finn and Chris arrived just in time. To awaken his brother's consciousness, Finn presented a card and recounted the story of the two brothers. This briefly restored Tilt's consciousness, but reinforcements arrived and attacked, causing the Black Knight to suppress Tilt's consciousness once again. In a critical moment, Finn and Chris reached the scene. Although they stopped the Black Knight, the king refused to leave despite Finn's persuasion, even planning to complete the ritual. In the king's view, maintaining the peace of the kingdom was a matter of royal dignity, and they had to strictly control the power of the cards generation after generation, ensuring they were never exploited by evil forces. As the barrier was destroyed, the king realized no one could match the Black Knight. Persuaded by Finn, he finally agreed to temporarily leave with the card, as protecting the nation was paramount, and he could not afford to lose the Joker card. However, unbeknownst to him, Finn had given him an ordinary business card. Finn and Chris had planned from the start. Finn used the Joker to attract the Black Knight, while Chris looked for a weakness in the Knight's armor. However, the armor was too strong, and conventional methods couldn't breach it. Seeing that dragging this out was futile, they decided to devise a new plan. Just then, the Black Knight was absorbing scattered cards, attempting to gain more power. When the smoke cleared, Finn realized that Chris's arm had disappeared. Soon after, Finn was bound by the Black Knight's tentacles. Despite Chris calling out to Tilt, the Black Knight did not respond and even planned to kill Finn directly. Seeing no other way, Chris took out a few more cards to lure the Black Knight. However, the Black Knight used his tentacles to pull Chris into his body. This was all part of their plan. Finn had intended to attract the Black Knight from the start so that Chris could reach the King of Spades. Even without the King of Spades, the Black Knight could still transform. At this point, Finn resolved to save everyone and shot Tilt in the head. Finn was then pulled into a mysterious space where Tilt wished him a happy birthday before disappearing. When Finn opened his eyes again, all his high-card companions were by his side. Chris, like an older brother, patted Finn's head. It was then that Finn remembered something. His brother had wished him a happy birthday because today was his birthday. Looking at the gift his brother had left, Finn finally accepted everything. Although they didn't find his brother's body at the scene, he erected a tombstone for him, because as long as he remembered, his brother would live forever in his heart.